Hello, everyone, family, friends, community members, and especially our Dartmouth graduates who are commissioning today in the United States Armed Forces. My name is Nate Fick. I'm a member of the Dartmouth class of 1999 and an emeritus member of the Board of Trustees, and I'm so pleased and grateful to be with you. I wish we were all together in Hanover today, but instead I'm joining you from my home office in Maine. This has been such a challenging year in so many ways, but a bright spot for sure is celebrating these graduates as they embark on a period of service to their nation and to their fellow citizens. The journalist Rick Atkinson wrote a wonderful book about West Point called The Long Gray Line. These commissioning officers are joining the Long Green Line. Since its founding, Dartmouth has embodied the adage that the nation that draws too great a distinction between its scholars and its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting done by fools. There were 73 Dartmouth alums who served in the Civil War on both sides. There were 3,407 alumni who served in World War I. One of them was Richard Neville Hall, memorialized in Baker Library, a display I remember stopping and reading many times as a student. During and following World War II, there were so many serving that it becomes hard to keep track. We'll hear shortly from Dartmouth President Emeritus Jim Wright. Jim started on the faculty in 1969 at the height of the nation's turmoil during the Vietnam War. As president of the college, during the years immediately before and after September 11, 2001, Jim began visiting hospitals to see service members who'd been wounded in Iraq and Afghanistan. He encouraged the injured soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines to continue their education, and he's done a great deal to make that possible, both at Dartmouth and at other institutions around the country. One has to imagine that Jim's commitment to veterans was influenced by his own service as a Marine. In a democratic society like ours, the military has three big jobs. First, to be ready, always. Second, to win, every time. And third, to return its young men and women to our broader society better than they were when it got them. I followed a path much like those of you standing here today, taking the oath as a second lieutenant in June 1999, about 2 hours after receiving my Dartmouth diploma. By virtue of timing and circumstance, I led one of the first American units in Afghanistan and Pakistan immediately after September 11th, and then led a Marine reconnaissance platoon in the Iraq invasion in 2003. Along the way, I learned a couple of things that have continued to serve me well in other walks of life. First is the difference between legal and moral authority. The military is a hierarchical organization where service members wear their rank on their collars or their sleeves. That legal rank, even for a relatively lowly ensign or second lieutenant, carries credibility. But when the chips are down, say in a firefight, what matters more is moral or informal authority. In my experience, moral authority accrued to young leaders who knew their jobs and took care of their people. Regardless of rank, they were the ones you wanted to follow. The second thing I learned is a simple leadership credo embodied by one of the best officers I served under, an infantry captain and later major named Rich Whitmer. I served under Rich's command on 2 combat tours, and even today I'd follow him anywhere, because Rich understood that officers eat last. Rank's about responsibility, not about privilege. Rich carried more weight, drank less water, and exposed himself to more danger than his position required, and we loved him for it. So the best advice I can offer, if you'll indulge me, is to do the work necessary to know your job in this profession of arms, to take care of the people in your charge, and to be the kind of officer who eats last. None of us has a crystal ball. No one knows what the next day or decade holds, whether in our personal lives or in national policy. But whether you wear the uniform for 4 years or 40 years, I hope the experience will serve you well. As a citizen, as a Marine, as a Dartmouth graduate and former trustee, I thank you for your willingness to serve, wish you well as you embark on a great adventure, and salute you.
Good morning. I'm U.S. Army Captain Susan Redwine, Director of the Dartmouth Army ROTC program. On behalf of my colleague, U.S. Marine Captain Eric Lindskog, who could not join us today, We are delighted to welcome you all to the Dartmouth College Joint Army and Marine Commissioning Ceremony for 2021. Today, we commission Robert L. Hobart III in the U.S. Marines and Jae Young-oh and Jacob R. Rozak in the United States Army. Robert L. Hobart has attained a goal he has been working hard to achieve for the past several years. As a member of the platoon leader's class, he was required to withstand the challenge of the Dartmouth College curriculum during the school year and the stress and rigors of Officer Candidate School, or OCS, over the summer. OCS, located at Quantico, Virginia, is where the Marine Corps screens, trains, and evaluates officer candidates to determine if they have the leadership potential necessary to lead America's Marines. It is a physically, mentally, and emotionally demanding test, and not all who attempt it succeed. Robert met the challenges at OCS and proved he has what it takes to lead Marines. Robert will soon report to Quantico, Virginia to attend the basic school, commonly referred to as TBS, for 6 months. At TBS, second lieutenants are groomed by experienced officers in preparation for their first assignment in the operating forces. Robert will study everything from in-depth leadership and warfighting philosophy to the practical application of warfighting doctrine across the full range of military operations. As cadets in the U.S. Army's Reserve Officer Training Corps, Cadets O and Rozak, both distinguished military graduates, have balanced the demands of a Dartmouth education with weekly military training throughout the year here on campus, as well as intensive training at Camp Ethan Allen Training Site, Vermont, over the summer. There, they learned leadership, military skills, and tactics that prepared them for the day when they will lead American soldiers. This fall, Lieutenant O will attend the University of Texas Southwestern Medical School to prepare to serve as an Army physician. Lieutenant Rozak will report to the Infantry Basic Officer Leader Course at Fort Benning in Georgia and will serve as an active duty infantry officer. We will now proceed with the commissioning. Attention to orders. The President of the United States has reposed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, fidelity, and professional abilities of Robert L. Hobart III, Jae Young-oh, and Jacob R. Rozak. In view of these qualities and their demonstrated potential for increased responsibility, they are therefore promoted to the rank of Second Lieutenant, effective 12 June 2021, by order of the Secretary of the Army, the Secretary of the Navy, and the President of the United States. Signed. We will now administer the commissioning oath. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jacob Rozak,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
to bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
to bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and that I take this obligation freely,
and that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office on which I'm about to enter.
of the office on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Friends and family may now come forward to present rank insignia to their second lieutenant. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Dartmouth College Class of 2021, United States Army and United States Marine Corps Second Lieutenants. And now please welcome President Emeritus James Wright.
Thank you, Captain Redwine. It's a privilege to join you again for this special ceremony. We're all grateful to you for your many contributions to this program, and I'm pleased to be here with you and with Captain Spaulding. It's always a pleasure for me to be part of a program with Nate Fick. Nate, I applaud you for all you've done and for all that you're doing. Semper Fi to you. And I'm pleased to join here in this special assembly today in saluting a very special group of graduates. My congratulations to them, to Jae Young, to Jacob and Robert, the new officers on this stage. It's a special honor to join you here on this occasion at this time. And if this huge space seems empty, remember this, it is not. That both here to join you or watching this moment are those who support and love you. They are sharing their affection and their regard for you. We have endured a different world for the last 15 months. It's been too often virtual and isolated. You three young men have signed on to serve in that world. You will at times in the next few years find yourselves posted at places where you may feel lonely, alone. And on those occasions, just remember today, you have many people, family and friends and colleagues who care deeply about you and who are proud of you for who you are, for your dedication, and for your commitment. You are not alone. Now, as you have learned well over the last 4 years, Dartmouth is an institution that is enriched by its traditions. Traditions need always stand up to the tests of time, and they need to stand up to the needs of each generation. But among these Dartmouth traditions, the one that I value is a tradition of service. You affirm today that you are prepared to accept that assignment, to build upon that tradition. And in a world too often marked by cruelty and prejudice, by inequity and suffering, we need to remember that Dartmouth is a place of privilege. Each of us associated with this college, no matter what our background and no matter how hard we have worked and sacrificed to be here, need to recognize our good fortune, our own privilege. And then we need always to remember that with privilege comes responsibility, a responsibility to the less fortunate, a responsibility to our country, a responsibility to our world. As Nate Fick reminded us, Dartmouth graduates have a commendable record of stepping up to these responsibilities. And to the three young officers on this stage, you have unambiguously volunteered to meet that responsibility now. You have affirmed that through the oath that you have just taken. You stand out among your classmates by that action and by that pledge. Yours is not a promissory note. Instead, it is an obligation, publicly and personally embraced this morning. Dartmouth has a long record of graduates joining in the nation's service, from the Peace Corps to public service to NGOs directed at the world's problems, and to military service. We can date our graduates choosing military service from the college's beginnings, from Sylvanus Thayer of the class of 1807 and his work in organizing the modern military academy at West Point, or Alden Partridge, who founded Norwich University. And we can go even earlier than that. Perhaps it will not surprise you when I tell you there's a good Marine story here as well. I have shared this story before, and it is always good in the retelling. William Eaton of the Dartmouth class of 1790 had been an enlisted man in George Washington's Continental Army before he enrolled at Dartmouth. After graduation, he took a commission in the new United States Army, and he subsequently served as the U.S. consul in Tunis. When the Barbary pirates captured the American naval vessel Philadelphia and imprisoned its crew at Tripoli in 1803, Eaton said we should not pay their ransom demands. He asked the Navy for 100 Marines. They assigned him 8, and he said he thought that would be enough, although they were well augmented by a group of mercenaries. Eaton and his band defeated the pirates at Dern. They actually never did get to Tripoli, and when President Jefferson ended up still paying part of the ransom, Eaton was furious and resigned. Nevertheless, the shores of Tripoli remain an important part of the Marine Corps heritage. The Ottoman prince, Hamid, presented a Mameluke sword to the victorious Marine commander there, Lieutenant Presley O'Bannon. It is a replica of this sword that Marine officers carry today for ceremonial occasions. Think of this. William Eaton, an Army officer, a Dartmouth man, working with and even briefly holding a commission in the United States Navy, was there commanding Marines at this critical moment in U.S. history, one that has contributed greatly to the legends of the Marine Corps. As we know, in the Marine Corps narrative, Dern became Tripoli, and the hymn actually reversed the chronology, and it followed the halls of Montezuma in this history. In any event, this joint commissioning ceremony today brings full circle an old connection. The tradition of military service has endured. Dartmouth had, by some estimates, the highest percentage of students and graduates serving in the Civil War. These comparative figures are elusive, but there's no doubt that this small college in the North Country actually did have the largest V-12 program training Navy and Marine Corps officers in World War II. And it was the Dartmouth ski team members and coaches that played a critical role in organizing the Army's famed 10th Mountain Division during that war. We can all point to the Dartmouth graduates who were commissioned in the 1960s. For some of those classes, over 10% were commissioned in one of the armed services upon graduation, and others, following graduation, joined as enlisted men or went to OCS. 15 Dartmouth men died in Vietnam, and 21 died while serving during that war. Over 40% of the men of that baby boomer generation served. But it was a different time. It was a time when all males faced the draft, and so a commission was an option that many college graduates chose. In 2021, there is no draft pressing your choice. The 3 of you have stepped up because you want to serve. Let me share a word with the family members who are here and those who are viewing this special moment. I understand the mixture of tremendous pride and of some gnawing apprehension you feel because of this path that your graduate has taken. There's a story that I've told before on this occasion. As part of my research for my book on the Vietnam War, I interviewed over 150 men and women who served in Vietnam. And I always asked them how and why they went into the military. One man's comments always echo when I think about this ceremony. He shared with me the story about the moment when he informed his parents that he had decided to enlist in the Army. His mother and father opposed the war in Vietnam, and they disagreed with his decision. They asked him, "Why would you ever do such a thing?" They pointed out that there were options for him to be exempted or at least to be deferred. He said to me that he then told them that he was doing it because he believed citizens had an obligation to serve, and he just hoped that he might be able to make a difference. And then he went on to remind them that they had brought him up always to step up to his responsibilities, to never shirk duty, and to try to make a difference. He said that's why he was enlisting. His parents had brought him up that way. At that point, he told me his parents embraced him, and they accepted his decision. Thank God there's no Vietnam War today, but it is a scary world, and these three remarkable young men have decided that running from that world is not going to make it the less scary. While the decision surely is theirs, I have a hunch it is not a surprising choice, for they were brought up to accept responsibility and to try to make a difference. A few years ago, the Dartmouth Alumni Office posted a story about U.S. Army Second Lieutenant Rachel Rhee, who was a 2016 ROTC graduate. She said then that leadership was about more than fulfilling a mission. The Dartmouth Army ROTC program, she said, taught me to servant leadership. You are there to serve others. She went on, I haven't been perfect. I've failed, learned from my mistakes, and failed again. But assuming my duties with the knowledge of and the deep belief in my purpose have made all the difference. It may be the stronger for when time comes to make tough calls. And her comment in that interview that a class on John Milton had helped to prepare her for serving as an Army officer reminded me of an observation of a Dartmouth D-Day veteran in the summer of 1944. When he was asked what his Dartmouth education, his liberal arts education, had prepared him for, he replied with a single word, Normandy. I would say to each of you, your education here can sustain you in a trying world, and the oath you took today affirms your intention to serve and to make that world better. Always remember that with this commission, much authority will be vested in you. But I urge you also to remember that the finest leadership is through example rather than through the authority of command. I have a hunch that you're going to do very well. So Jay Young, Jacob, Robert, Dartmouth graduates, and officers, today I simply want to express to you a tremendous sense of gratitude and respect from your college, from me. This old Dartmouth man is very proud of you, and this old Marine salutes you. Thank you to everyone who has joined this ceremony today, here in this space and in the broader virtual world. I want to say a special thanks to Kate Burke, who's been organizing this program annually for many years and now is retiring. Thank you, Kate, for making a difference. And to these three young men, once more, congratulations. Thank you for your commitment and good luck. The world you are entering will require much more than good luck. And all I would say is that you have much more than luck on your side. But I might add, on the other hand, a little bit of luck never hurts. Carry always the granite of New Hampshire and the embrace of Dartmouth. Thank you all who have joined in this very special occasion. Thank you. Thank you.